I remember that night. Clearly, my friend invited me to his comfortable home on a chilly, energizing winter. Zevening after a busy week we had been, looking forward to this opportunity. Torlax Andra-connect. Although his home was usually a haven of comfort, we were in for a surprise treat. This time, a sauna had just been erected by his family. I was excited and curious, because I had never been in a sauna before. According to my acquaintance, his mother Isabella would probably help us with the process because she was a huge expert on the subject. I didn't think much of it at the time. My friend gave me a warm welcome when I arrived, and we spoke for a bit after telling me that he had to leave for a short while to perform errands for his father. He reassured me that I could use the sauna without him. If I had any questions, he insisted that his mother would be present. I consented, even though I felt a little uncomfortable on my way to the sauna Iran into Isabella in the corridor. She asked if I intended to utilize the sauna after greeting me with her customary welcomings. I nodded and said, I was persuaded to do so by Herson. You're going to adore it. She continued, her eyes sparkling with a tinge of mischief. I'll demonstrate how it operates since I knew very little about Sayas. I was glad to receive her advice. She showed me the little wooden building at the rear of their home. Isabella gave advice on how to make the most of the experience, stressed the value of drinking enough water, and described how to regulate the temperature once. Inside, she had a sweet, calm, and even hypnotic voice. I couldn't help but observe how calm she appeared, how her eyes seemed to hold mine for a minute longer than was required, and how her hair framed her face. There was something about here, energy that both made me feel at ease and a little uneasy. You'll be all right on your own, she said after lingering for a while. Simply unwind and have fun. She started to walk away. Then she stopped and looked back over her shoulder. It's better if you take off your clothes so that the heat can work properly, she added softly. It won't have the full impact. Otherwise, I experienced an odd wave of joy and nervousness. It made sense, but I hadn't anticipated her saying it after all. It was a sauna. I was left alone in the sauna when she left after, grinning, unsure of what to do. I stood there for a while before deciding to take her counsel. I took off my jeans and shirt. The high heat felt fantastic, relieving the tension of the day and relaxing my muscles. The door creaked open. After a few minutes, Isabella questioned if everything was well as she peered in. I assured her that I was having a great time and that it was ideal after shutting the door behind her. She entered and took a seat on the bench beside me. Is it okay if I spend some time with you? Her tone was informal, but there was a playful quality in her gaze that made my heart skip a beat. I tried to remain composed as nodded, but an adrenaline surge was going through me. I didn't mind that she sat close, perhaps. Bit too close, everything seemed blurry, as if we were in our own little realm because of the heat. We spent some time discussing life, the pressures of jobs and school, and nothing specific. There was an underlying tension, an unsaid attraction, boiling beneath the surface. But the discussion flowed. Naturally, Isabella briefly put her hand on my arm at one point. I was drawn to her in an inexplicable way, and I found myself leaning in slightly as a result of her gentle, almost delicate touch. Naturally, she became aware of it, and a faint smile formed on her lips. She whispered, "You're tense," as her fingertips delicately touched my skin. "You ought to give yourself permission to unwind." I felt myself dissolving into the warmth and her presence as her voice was calming, almost mesmerizing. My heart was pounding, each beat reverberating like a drum in my chest as she edged closer. Only the two of us remained in that cozy, steamy cocoon as the outer world seemed to disappear. I noticed something new when I looked into her eyes, a glimmer of yearning, maybe even longing, as she carefully raised her hand and placed it on my thigh. My breath caught in my throat with her eyes fixed on mine. She said, "It gets lonely up here in the cabin, especially when Phil's dad is away for work." I could sense my determination faltering since Phil was my best friend, and this was his mother. I felt this was wrong on many levels. However, something about the way she gazed at me and the subliminal cues she was sending suggested that she wanted me to please her. It was hard to think clearly as her fingers scraped my skin as her hand continued its path, her touch light and playful. I could feel my heartbeat accelerating. Isabella, I started out with a raspy voice, but she put a single finger to my lips and gently sounded me down. She leaned so near that I could feel her breath on my skin, and murmured, "Don't say anything, enjoy this." Please, her lips were on mine before I realized it, warm and gentle with a subtle hint of the wine she had been sipping earlier. I found myself melting into the steady, purposeful kiss. She was rubbing my rod with her hand inside my panties, pushing it harder every second. I forgot about everything else. As her body pushed against mine, I lost my temper and began taking off her towel. I couldn't help but want to suck on her flawlessly shaped breasts. She looked to be having a great time. As I did this for at least 10 minutes, she grabbed over, grasping my rod, and guided it into her cave. She took complete control and started riding me like I was her horse. She was obviously enjoying the trip, and I had my hands on her. Hips' time appeared to blend together as the Serrate's heat surrounded us, but I wasn't sure how long we remained that way, engrossed in the moment. All I knew was that I was unable to stop moving and kissing her. I explored and teased her body with my hands. I didn't expect the waves of pleasure that came with every touch and sigh she uttered. When we were done, she gave me a cheeky smile while delicately tracing the shape of my jaw with her fingers. She said, quietly, "We probably shouldn't stay in here too long," but her behavior belied her words. However, I believe we still have some time. I wanted to fight, but I couldn't, because I knew what she meant, in spite of all the reasons. I should have avoided her. There was something alluring about her. I could feel her hands moving down my arms and onto my chest, setting up a fire inside of me that was equal to the Serrate. There was no going back now, no halting the inevitable, as we lost ourselves in the moment in each other. The world outside melted away completely, and all that mattered was the way her body fit against mine, the way her lips moved with mine despite how unexpected it was. Everything felt so right. We sat for the next several minutes in a cloud of love and heat. Our bodies intertwined, the lines between right and wrong hazy, the two of us, and the overpowering urge to continue exploring whatever it was between us were the only things there at that time. Isabella finally broke the silence, again her voice stern but gentle. She advised, "We had better leave before Phil came looking for us," she said, something that hit me, my best friend. Phil, like a ton of bricks. I mean, what was I doing? I knew this wouldn't be the end, though. As she got up, rearranging her towel and giving me one more lingering glance, something had changed between us, something that neither of us could deny.